Welcome to Saturday Simulcast, January 11th edition. Special guest today will be Tom Dienhart. He's our regular guest, I should say, Purdue football analyst for the GoldandBlack.com. We will talk all things transfer portal and the ever-changing landscape of Purdue's football program and team for 2025. Bruce Weber will join us also. Bruce Weber, of course, former Purdue men's basketball assistant coach, BTN analyst, coached Illinois also to the Final Four. He'll join us for a comment about where the Boilermakers are right now. And then finally, we'll hear from Willie Deane, former Purdue men's basketball guard, led the Big Ten in scoring average in 2002, all Big Ten level player. An amazing story, really, on how he got to West Lafayette and what he's done with his life from a professional basketball standpoint and a mentorship standpoint. We'll look forward to talking to Willie Deane as well. I want to thank our sponsor, the Union Club Hotel. We appreciate them. Boiler Up Bar, 811 Bistro. It is a great place to enjoy your winter evening, afternoon, whatever it takes for the Purdue fans that are in the West Lafayette area. So without further ado, Saturday Simulcast will begin with Tom Dienhart. Tom Dienhart, you join us, and we got a lot to talk about. You're doing an amazing job. I don't know how you're doing keeping track of Purdue Portal. We're going to talk about that with Tom. Then, of course, also Bruce Weber, a name that Purdue fans know well. We'll be talking some Purdue, not Purdue, but also Big Ten basketball. Willie Deane, another guy that Purdue basketball fans know well, all Big Ten level player. Tom and I were talking about, he'd interviewed him a couple years ago. Willie led the Big Ten in scoring. We'll get caught up with Willie as well. All right, Tom, I almost hesitate to say what's the latest because an hour from now it'll be changing, but is this slowing down? And give us just a thumbnail of the numbers we've talked about so far and where Purdue is in the transfer portal game.
How much time do you have, Alan Carter?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's been the word I like to use is dizzying.
Yeah, that's a good word.
The word dizzying, but dizzying. Chaotic. How about that? That's another good word. Rapid fire. Yeah, the arrival of the commitments from the portal have come fast and furious. Since December round, there were 9 in December who committed. In the new year, there have been 19. So our grand total thus far, I have a tote board going. It's 28.
Yeah, I know you. 28.
And I've got links to every story I post. I always put a link to the current tote board. So you can look on that link to see who's signed. There's a link to the kid's bio, the story. And then I've also got guys categorized by position groups, how many defensive backs they've signed, how many quarterbacks, and then by school too. So it's kind of all broken down there. It's a lot to kind of digest for fans. And yeah, you're right, Alan. Again, 28, they're not done yet. Now, will things slow down soon? Yes, they will, because classes are going to start on Monday. Believe it or not, Alan, these guys still have to go to class. There still is an academic portion of being a college athlete. Of course, I jest, but so January 13th, classes will start. Obviously, Alan, if the coaches want these guys to go through spring football in April, they got to be students in January. So there you go. So the guys have already started moving in. There's going to be a dinner on Sunday for the whole team at 7 p.m. So it's getting real now. We could see a couple commitments over the weekend, I think. I was told there's not supposed to be anybody visiting, but there have been plenty of guys who have visited, Alan.
Yeah.
They're kicking the tires and they're still mulling offers. I think that linebacker from Colgate, there's a chance he could commit. So, again, we could get a couple more over the weekend. Maybe we'll get to 30. And who knows, Alan, you may know this better than me, but I'm sure there's a grace period where you can still enroll as late as next Friday.
I think that's right. I think you have at least a week at Purdue.
So there you go. So we could get a couple of guys even trickle in the next week maybe that come aboard that can still get in school and be part of the team for the spring semester. So long story short, we're at 28 now, and I wouldn't be shocked if we're at 30 or over 30 by this time next week maybe.
And will we be, again, the numbers we keep getting to with Barry Odom, of course, 50 and 55, the two numbers that he supposedly got to at UNLV. Are we going to get, because you have another period in April.
Yeah.
And I know this is kind of a silly question because who the heck knows, but we could get to that number, close to it. I mean, that is not out of the realm of possibility.
Maybe not all from transfer portal.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe Barry Odom was talking about 50 portal guys. But
if 50 new players.
You factor in freshmen coming in. Because let's not forget, I think, Alan, and mentioned this in Boiling Over yesterday.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 5 or 6 UNLV guys that they flipped, the 2025 recruits that they flipped that are here now too. And there's 2 guys that Purdue signed in December that are enrolling early too. Zaire Stevens, a running back from Akron, and Landon Brooks, a big rangy defensive end from Delta High School, Matt Painter's alma mater, who's enrolling. So there's probably 7 more guys if you consider those early enrolling freshmen, in addition to 28 portal guys. So there you are, Alan. You're close to 35 or so right there. And you're right, Alan. In April, there's another portal window, like April 16th to 25th. I fully expect a few more Boilermakers to jump into the portal then, Alan, after spring football. And then I fully expect Purdue to probably fish out a few more players themselves in April as well. It's not going to be quite as fast and furious or involve as many players as we're seeing now. But I think we will see a handful of guys come and go in April for sure, and maybe even all the way into the summer. Now, it's important to remember this. If you're a grad transfer, you can jump in the portal at any time. And it's also important to remember this, the key here is to jump into the portal. Sort of like an airplane. You got to get on the airplane before it takes off. So these guys will jump in the portal, and once you're in the portal, then you can, conceivably jump out at any point you want and pick your school. You may not be able to enroll right away because of academic concerns, but again, just a lot of moving parts. And I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be surprised to see things pop here and there, even over the course of these winter months.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting storyline, certainly with what, again, Barry Odom continues to bring. I thought one of my favorite stories that you wrote this week was your top 11 guys that stayed. And of course, that's no guarantee that they're going to be playing football by the time, and who knows, they still could enter the portal in April, like you mentioned. But Mo Amanade, obviously, people know from West Lafayette, and who is a player. He's shown that he can play at this level. But I thought that was, of course, number 45, Devin Mockabee, too, maybe the marquee guys. But what does that leave? I mean, any other guys? I mean, they're your top 11. Those are the top 2, but those guys are going to be playing. Certainly, you would have to think are going to be on the field. Certainly, Mockabee will be, but and Amanade. But talk about that group, and is there a common thread of the ones that stayed at Purdue?
I think all 11 guys that listed in that story are going to be factors.
Yeah. This
fall, not to pick Barry Odom's roster out for him, but I'm going to pick out Barry Odom's roster for him. So you talked about, of course, right at the top, Devin Mockabee, just a guy, Alan, who's wired differently, man.
Yeah, love Devin. Hard not to love him.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, it's I'm kind of fascinated by the guy too. I'm amazed by the guy, how he carries himself for somebody so young. Just incredible. He's like 22 going on 50.
Yeah.
I don't know. And
he actually wants to go to college. I love it. I love it.
He does want that Purdue engineering degree. It's not lip
I think that's great.
He really does. And a special guy who certainly had plenty of opportunity to leave Purdue, has the last couple of years. Always has stayed tethered to Purdue. A big key was keeping Lamar Kennard, I think, the running backs coach. He means a lot to Devin Mock. We talked about Mo. Boy, he's going to have to be the anchor on that D-line. That's got a lot of questions. Some offensive linemen. I got about 2 or 3 offensive linemen on my list. Joey Tonona, the old 4-star kid from Notre Dame, from Zionsville High School, could be a special player. Bakeem Coley, another big offensive lineman. And Jaden Ball. Smiley Bradford from East St. Louis. We saw him start some games as a true freshman, the back end of that defense. A couple other guys up front, the big nose tackle, Chops Harkless, and then C.J. Madden, the Georgia transfer, only played 3 games last year because of injury. I know the other staff liked him a lot. I think he could be a player for him. Now, this team needs pass rushers desperately.
Oh,
You think about, Will Helt's gone. Sheeta Soleil's gone. Jair Ojada's gone. Kydron Jenkins is gone. They need somebody to come off the edge and bring some juice. They got a couple portal guys, but they may need some more help off the edge to really amp up that pass rush this year.
It's always interesting when the coaches come in, and Joe Tiller did, one of the most famous moves of players from offense to defense or defense to offense in the case of Matt Light, but getting guys in the right position. It'll be fun and interesting to see. And I know the guys you mentioned, I don't know how many of them could we're not talking about defensive linemen going to offensive linemen. It doesn't appear. But I think if you can step back, if you're Barry Odom and staff, and look at this thing and say, it's got to be kind of fun in its own weird way to try to put all the pieces together. It may be maddening, but it's going to be really interesting to see how he throws all this together. And you've got 3 quarterbacks in there already, and maybe more to come. All those factors are going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's got to be a little bit overwhelmed at times, but you certainly would never sense it from the way he carries himself. Always has that veneer of calm and collected.
Yeah.
And like that old analogy of the duck, and you don't see the feet paddling real hard under the water. But this isn't his first rodeo. We've talked to Barry. We know his resume. He's been the head coach in the SEC, Alan. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that. So he's swam in these waters before, and he also was at a school that didn't have a lot of success. So he's been able to succeed at a place that didn't have a lot of great resources, the best talent too. So he's got a nice collection of skills and a nice resume here. I like his staff. I like the experience with Darren Henshaw, the quarterback's coach, Josh Henson, the OC. I think Vance Weiss, people have said that he reminds a lot of people of Danny Hope as an offensive line coach. And again, the defensively, they have a really young, promising defensive coordinator in Michael Shear as well. So just a nice mix of talent. A very good special teams coach too, Alan. James Shebas. So looks like he has a good staff. And you're right, they're trying to put all these pieces together, and it's got to be kind of exciting and scary at the same time. But I think they obviously know what they want. They've got a blueprint. They know what they're looking for, how to put it together. So, that's all you can ask for. We'll see how it all looks come September, Alan, or I should say August 30th, when Ball State comes to West Lafayette. But let me tell you this: between now and August 30th, the hype train is going to go off the rails, right? I mean, how we get deeper and deeper in the off season, everybody gets a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more optimistic. And that's what being a fan's all about, is having hope and optimism. And I think Barry Odom's arrival has certainly been a mega dose of that for the fan base.
Yeah, you don't want to count victories when you're a 1-win team now from last year. But as Mike Carmen pointed out, I think in his hot take for the new year, and it will be one. Purdue will likely be 2-0. They'll have a bye week, and then head USC will be coming in here. And he said, that'll be a Friday night game. Well, that has not been determined to our knowledge. Well, we know it hasn't. They haven't set their TV schedule yet. But you're right. There'll be some optimism in that first conference game when the Trojans come to West Lafayette will be interesting. All right, give us 2 or 3 names that intrigue you. You could go into probably 20 here in terms of some of the portal guys that have come in. There have been some big name schools, certainly with Tennessee and Arkansas, Wake Forest, right, recently. But just 2 or 3 guys that we can at least wrap our minds around and say, here's a guy I'm really interested in watching.
Yeah, remember the days, Alan, when we used to do physical game programs? This is a year you certainly would need your game program, right? Look at the pictures and the photos. Yeah, you got to go with the quarterback from Arkansas, Malachi Singleton, is maybe the number one guy to watch. I'm going to call him the early favorite to be the quarterback, a 6'1", 230-pound kid, a dual threat. I know they were optimistic about in Fayetteville. We'll see if he can win the job. Like you said, Alan, there's a couple other portal quarterbacks that came here as well. The other one is E.J. Colson to watch, I think, from Central Florida. Darren Henshaw handpicked from Orlando because that's where Henshaw used to coach. So he knows Colson well. So Malachi Singleton, quarterback, Arkansas. I think for sure keep him on your radar without a doubt. And just I think from a back end of the defense standpoint, I talked to this kid the other day, posted his video. Crew Wakely from BYU.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting guy. 24-year-old safety. He's married, Alan. He's got a dog. He's a full-grown man, and he's been on a 2-year Mormon mission. He told me when he came to Purdue, took a visit, he had no inclination or really even real big interest in ever committing to Purdue.
Yeah.
That he commits to Purdue. And he went into some detail about why he made that decision, why his attitude changed, and why he wanted to become a Boilermaker. It's pretty interesting stuff. Fans want to go back and watch that video on our website and message board as well. So Crew Wakely, I like him. He could be a real leader in the back end for this defense. And just from lastly, just from a pure fascination standpoint, you and I may be the only people on the planet that care about this. But former Boilermaker Canadian football players.
Oh yeah, I love the man. We go from Manitoba to BYU. I forgot about that, right? So
there you go. So Purdue got an offensive lineman, supposedly the best Canadian college offensive lineman, who's coming. Giordano Vaccaro. How about that, Al?
Yeah.
Straight out of Sopranos. Giordano Vaccaro, University of Manitoba. I'm going to say they're called the Moose because that sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, here comes Giordano, and I just did a quick. Nobody probably cares because when I was in college, you were working there too in the mid-'80s. We got a nice run of Canadian kids because of the late Willard Wells.
Right?
Bisco, Ernie Schremeyer, Bill Hitchcock, and then later Danny Chronopoulos in the late 80s.
Yeah, I was trying to draw for that name right. Really good player.
Real good. All four of those guys are really good players, Alan.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun storyline to watch. All right, we're airing this on Friday. However, we saw a great college football game last night, and Marty Biagi's name came up a bunch last night. How about that? Of course, former Purdue assistant, but another former Purdue assistant. I think the whole college football world's happy for Marcus Freeman, just because Marcus is a great guy, and the irony that he may be playing his alma mater for the national championship will be interesting too. But really a good football game last night with Penn State and Notre Dame. But I still think if Ohio State plays like we saw anywhere close to the way they played against Oregon, they're the odds-on favorite to get the job done. But obviously, Friday's game against Texas. But how do you see that? What were your any takeaways from what you saw?
God, I hate cheering for Notre Dame, Alan. Or not, but yeah, you're right. He's an easy guy to like, and easy guy to root for. And it's not like the Irish have really been nationally relevant for 15 or 20 years. I really couldn't stand him when Holt was there in the early 90s, especially.
Yeah.
Great teams they had. But give him credit, man. He's got them poised to win a national title. It'll be their first since 1988, Alan. I remember going to South Bend that year and watching Purdue get railroaded. Notre Dame team. Been a fun storyline. Hard to think that's the same team that lost to Northern Illinois at home. And I didn't think they were that battle tested all year in the ACC, to be honest with you. And then they beat Indiana. Okay. And then they beat Georgia, that's great. Georgia didn't have a starting quarterback. Notre Dame was favored against the Bulldogs, but still they won. I got it. What I'm trying, I just got to give it up and give them credit. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to quit fighting it and just say congratulations, Notre Dame. I still don't want you to win it all. And you're right. The Ohio State Notre Dame storyline would be a fun one. We'll see. But for a playoff that thus far has lacked a lot of compelling games, maybe they're all saving the best for last year, and the best for last here in this Final Four.
Yeah, Dallas with snow of all things. They had a snowstorm come through there. The game will be inside, obviously, in Jerry World, but Ohio State and by the time some of you listen to this or watch this, that game will have been determined. I like Ohio State in that one, but Texas isn't playing far from home, and it'll be. But Ohio State's got a great presence everywhere it goes. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right, Brother Dienhart, thanks so much for everything. Always enjoy it. Stay tuned to his work on GoldandBlack.com. It may be slowing down, but not so sure. But we'll see. And we'll look forward to segment 2. Again, we'll have Bruce Weber and then Willie Deane. Take a 2-minute break here, and we'll be back for the next segment on Gold and Black Live. Segment 2, joined by Bruce Weber, and needs no introduction to Purdue fans. He was in the house for Purdue Toledo, I believe it was his last game in Mackey Arena. I always love that because it's got Robbie Hummel gets it every time, and now you get it too. That when the scoreboard comes down and they said, Bruce Weber, you're doing the game and you don't even know they're waving to you, but it's good to be. It still has to be good to be back in Mackey Arena for you. You obviously were there for such a long time. It's a big part of your coaching and personal life, certainly. But that experience of being back in Mackey Arena has got to be cool.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's fun. There's so many memories. Actually, Megan got to come up for the game, and that was her first time for a long time being there. We were both just amazed, and I've been in there, but just how they've upgraded everything. You remember the days when we had the sterile walls and cold underneath the tunnel of Mackey Arena.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't have the practice facility and all. You were lucky to have an office space. So much improved, and it's good to see friends in that. I'd laugh because the Final Four, I maybe mentioned it to you that, when I was there, you talk about personal life, but, Megan delivered babies for a long, long time. In West Lafayette. And I probably had at least 5 people come up and said, your wife delivered me. And, or your wife taught us childbirth classes. So, we had really a lot of special memories, and obviously to see Coach Katie, got to go to dinner with him, and that's always a pleasure to be around him and see after his heart issues this summer, to come back. He's a tough old goat. There's no doubt about that. He keeps going.
The pride of Whitley Court. I remember we lived in the same neighborhood, not at the same time, but it goes deep, and that's the beauty of getting to live a long time and being a part of it. 497 wins. That also is amazing in your coaching career, and that is part of why I think now that you get a chance to be an analyst and you've kind of can decompress. You've had such a accomplished career, so obviously at Purdue and Illinois, Southern Illinois, and Kansas State, but now that role as an analyst, is it really a lot of fun to be able to sit back and watch these guys? Or do you get some of the same juices flowing as you did when you're coaching, or is it totally different from your perspective?
Well, just to be in the studio or at a game and that, you do get, a little bit excited, and you want to do a good job. I mean, you got that competitive part of it, and I one of my biggest problems, I don't get done with the studio till 11:30. Now we might even have triple headers coming up some Wednesdays that it'll be later than that. I just can't get to sleep, just like after a game, because you worked up, kind of that adrenaline. So, but it's fun. The people at BTN, and I was at Illinois right when it kind of opened up. But Dave Revson and Rick Pizzo, Mike Hall, the whole management, they are so good. I'm just telling you, the Big Ten is fortunate to have those guys. They're professionals. You got, having a national name like Andy Katz and now Seth Davis, and then Robbie does a really, really good job, and we have fun. That's the thing, and they set you up, and so it's a good time, and it keeps me involved in the game a little bit, connected. And I got, obviously Matt and his staff. I know those guys pretty well. Northwestern, 2 of my guys are there, Chris Lowry and Shane Southwell. And then there's Tom Izzo go longer back than anybody. And, but there's other guys also that, Ben Johnson, I've, got to know him and gone up and watched his practices. And so you'll stay connected with those guys. And then I have a lot of coaches out in the still coaching, even from Division II or to, wherever it might be, and get a lot of calls and text messages and about, what do you think about this? Or did you watch it? So, that part, I guess keeps me mentally active and engaged a little bit.
Yeah, I think it just seems like those guys, and you're one of them certainly, but just they're good guys. I mean, Revson, those guys, Rob Hummel, we know, Ray Davis, all those guys are just fun people to be around, and they're good people. And it really comes off on the broadcast. I mean, I think it's just not to gush here, but it's cozy, it's good basketball coverage, and guys that really know what they're watching, to say the least. All right, I don't know if you had how much of a chance you had to watch Purdue last night against Rutgers. Rutgers obviously got two really talented guys. One with Harper dealing with an illness, and Matt Painter. And you were always this way as a coach, always gets on post game and talks about, that's a different team without if those two guys are healthy. But still impressive. Purdue, an 18-point win. They've had two double-digit road victories. Wasn't sure at any time that Purdue was going to get road victories. What are you seeing from the Boilermakers right now?
Well, they're not as good as last year. I think you know it. I hope Purdue fans understand that. You had a special human being in Zach that was just dominant, and not just for 1 year, for really for 2 years, just dominated college basketball. And I'm just happy he's having some success in the NBA. I think it's really cool. It good for him. You can just see he loves the game. That's the one thing I noticed. He loved Purdue, and he appreciated what the game gave him and what Purdue gave him, and then also he played hard, and that was, I don't think people appreciate that much, that they don't understand that it used to be, Alan, when NBA guys would call me, they didn't even ask, do they play hard? And I still remember one guy called and said, hey, coach, I hate to even ask this, but does he play hard? Does he practice hard? And this is probably 5 years ago where somebody said that. So it's a different element. So, and then you add in Gillis, and then Lance Jones was a really nice piece that, so you're missing some pretty good pieces, but Matt's a really good coach. He's got a good system. He runs stuff. He has their defense. They don't have quite the athletes to be like a big time defensive team, but they're solid, and they have a system, and that gives them a chance. And then when you have a point guard like Braden Smith, it gives you chances in games. The Penn State game, Marquette game, when they had guards that could deal with Braden, that were the games you struggled. And I think the one Matt, and even Auburn's a whole nother. That's a whole nother animal. That it's unbelievable how good they are. And Bruce Pearl, you can say all you want about him and all the different things, but he's a good coach. And does a good job, and now he's got a really good group. So, those are the teams that took. But, Matt talks about, when I was in town and talked to him quite a bit at the practices and stuff, that he built this team to win in the Big Ten. And that's what I think they have a chance. Now, are they going to win the league? I still think they have a chance.
They have a chance. I don't.
It's going to be hard, there's no doubt, but they're going to be up in that top 4 or 5 teams. And, a lot can happen too, through the year, injuries happen, issues happen off the court. And in today's world with players and the portal and the NIL, you never know what's going to happen. So, but right now they're a good, solid team. And, I like that he was struggling. He was trying to keep with the same lineup, but I really like that. And it's hard as a coach, I know, to kind of start rotating players and saying the one thing he talked about, and we always go back to Steve Scheffler. Steve would say, Coach, I'm nervous on this. And, he said, I know I can play hard. And Matt brought up that quote the other day when we were together, and that's what he's trying to emphasize to some of these guys. They're young players, and they have a lot of talent, and they want to be superstars, but just play hard, and the other things will come. It'll develop, and that's what I think he's trying to get some of the other guys to do. and Trey Kaufman-Wren's improvement is so good. Part of it, they got him in the post and they run stuff for him.
Yeah.
And he can really score, but he's improved. There's no doubt. I mean, his numbers are really, really good. And Fletcher Lawyer's he is who he is. He can score and make some plays. But if they can get one of those guys from Cox to Cam Heide to Miles Colvin, somebody to really get some consistency, it would help them and give him a chance. The other one is First. He's an older guy, and he's got limited athletic ability and explosion things, but you play hard and do the little things, all the things you can do, and he's starting to do that. The rebounding obviously is a factor.
Yeah,
taking care of the ball and rebounding are keys for them, but when they do that, they have a chance to beat people.
Yeah, it's interesting because the league and it's kind of your 18-team schedule isn't or 20-game schedule, 18 teams. They ain't all the same. I mean, Purdue's going to play double plays against Rutgers, Michigan, and Indiana, obviously. Indiana and Michigan are certainly a challenging lot to have to face, but it's not all schedules are the same. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out as we get, and there are going to be people talking about it. You guys will be talking about it. Well,
yes.
These guys may have a little bit easier schedule, and having Nebraska at home on Sunday is a heck of a lot difference of going to Lincoln. I mean, Purdue will not go to Lincoln this year. They'd be an underdog if they went to Lincoln in all likelihood. So that's an interesting part. Who else? I mean, Michigan has really impressed me, and I haven't watched them as much as you have, but teams that really now you say, boy, I think they're going to be in there for the long run. Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana's shown some good signs here recently. What do you see?
In Illinois, you got to throw them in.
Yeah, obviously, Illinois. There's too many teams to keep track of.
And you forget about them. There's no doubt about that. So, I would start with them. They're just so offensively talented and have so many weapons. And when, KJ's out the other night and they still scored 91 and beat Penn State by 30. I mean, and this is going to be the whole thing. I said it on the air the other night. You just think about all the craziness, from, Northwestern beating Illinois, Purdue losing to Penn State beating Northwestern, and then when you compare scores, it doesn't make sense. And then now Northwestern beating Illinois, and then and then they beat Penn State without their best player by 30. Yeah. So wait a minute, how do you figure this out? And you're not. And some of its matchups, it's going to be playing at home. Road wins are going to be so valuable, and even more valuable win your home games. Just you can't panic, and I think with the players, I've talked with other coaches in the league, you got to stay consistent, and you can't because there's going to be a stretch in your schedule. You can look at any schedule where you're going, oh my goodness, this next 5. We've got 3 out of 5 on the road. We got a West Coast swing. We got the 2 top 20 teams in the mix, and can't. But if your players are mentally tough and they can survive that, you could even go 2 and 3 or whatever in that stretch. But you got to come back when you have the good stretch and play well, and that's going to be the key with anyone to stay up there. I thought maybe 5-6 losses might be the winner, but maybe now there's some teams kind of stepping up above that. It might be 4. We'll see. And again, craziness happens in the season, and we'll see how it all progresses. But Illinois wins at Oregon the way they did it in Presley. Now Penn State. That'll be interesting. Michigan State. I talked to Tom last week. He really feels good about his group. They're not sexy. There's no doubt about that. But they guard, they rebound, kind of the old things, and they're getting running a little more because now they're getting stops, and they really play together pretty well. So that group is pretty good. Wisconsin, I think, don't sleep on that. I don't know if they might be at the end of the 5 or 6 or somewhere in there, but they're going to beat some people at their place. If they make threes, obviously that really helps. That helps everybody when that happens. And I think Purdue's in that mix. Michigan, Dusty May has done an unbelievable job with the portal. And I, we were talking about it in the studio the other night. Some of it is, who's out there, but some of it is too, if you can get quality kids, good kids. Brad Underwood mentioned it in his postgame the other night. They have good kids, and they do. I've been there. I've been to practice. They work hard. They're good kids. They want to be part of something special. Maybe they had some issues at another place or something, but now they got to this, next school, and they've taken steps where they bought in, and they really want to be part of it, and they feel like they have a good group. So, but Dusty May, I never thought, I saw their exhibition game against Toledo, and I never thought they could play those two bigs together like that in modern basketball. But it's been pretty successful right now, and their West Coast, 2-game swing. Now they got that out of the way. I think that's even an advantage during holiday break to go on the West Coast, kind of NBA style, and go win 2 games. And now later on, when school starts, other teams that have to go out there later, it might not be quite as advantageous to them, and it might be a little tougher.
Yeah, Purdue's going to get that experience next week when the Boilermakers head to Washington and Oregon, and maybe also at a good time. Who knows? I mean, it's funny. And you're right. You can't sleep on the home games. I mean, Purdue's going to have its hands full. I would be surprised on Sunday, that noon tip Eastern time against the Cornhuskers, that will be easy. Certainly Ohio State and Michigan coming in. Ohio State's another team that I know that they've had moments. I mean, when Ohio State got boat raced by Auburn, I said, they're not, they may not be very good. Then Purdue got boat raced by Auburn. I said, realize there's enough talent there to cause problems. I think that's the key point, is you can't lose at home. You better limit that. I don't know that Purdue's going to go through 10-0 at home, but you better be 9-1 if you're really going to be in that race down the stretch. And Purdue does now have its two road victories. That's a good sign from that standpoint.
Yeah, Coach Katie's old formula, an old 10-game schedule was win all your home games and half your road games, you have a chance to compete for the league title. And that might be it. You get to 15 wins, 16 wins, you're probably going to have a chance to win it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, and you'll be right in the middle of it in your work with BTN. A lot of fun to watch your work and see what happens, and you don't have to worry about necessarily. You got a lot of teams that you got somebody. So you got a network of, you like Illinois people, you like Purdue people, but you like coaches. I'm glad for you and for your blood pressure. It's good. We're at that age where that matters. So
yeah, you got to take care of yourself. There's no doubt. But there's some emotion there. You got friends, you want them to win, and you and then you get on the phone because you're driving back to the hotel at midnight, and the coaches are calling you. What do you think? Like that. So that.
Well, and lastly, I'll be quick. And that is an interesting dynamic that you have. The coaches they're not going to tell you stuff on the record when you're interviewing them, but they're going to call you and tell you and ask you. Matt Painter's going to ask you, what the heck's going on with so and so, or why can't Miles Colvin hit a shot? Those kind of things. That's a guarantee. So, all right, Bruce, thanks so much for your time, and we'll look forward to your work Tuesday and Wednesday, and your work. Your and Megan's work as grandparents. That's a full-time job as well. So we thank you so much for your time. We'll be back in a couple minutes, joined by Willie Deane, somebody that Bruce Weber knows of. Willie will join the show too. We're going to talk a little. Willie was about as fast a guy as you could get, and of course led the Big Ten, I think, in scoring. It was all Big Ten. Really interesting player when Bruce was coaching it. Coaching, I think it just. I don't know. Did you ever get a chance to coach against him?
No, I was at Southern.
Southern before he came there. So, all right. Well, have a good rest of your day, Bruce. Thanks so much, and we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you on TV. Hopefully, at Mackey Arena before long.
Very good. Thank you, Al.
Joined by Willie Deane. And Willie, you've been a lot of things to a lot of people just in your life, but you were my 2 children who are now 30 and 27. 28. You were their favorite player. Man, they were weaned on Purdue basketball, watching number 0 run race. There still hasn't been anybody faster from baseline to baseline than Willie Deane, in my view, in Purdue basketball. Willie, welcome to the show. This is the highlight of your media career, but thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, it's an honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and those Purdue basketball fans know Willie Deane. He led the Big Ten in points per game in 2002. Interesting story, because you started at Boston College. You have a degree from Boston College, then transfer to Purdue. I always laugh because I was working, I don't know where, with GoldandBlack at the time, and I can remember you coming in and you kind of landed on Gene Katie's doorstep. But talk about how you got. I mean, it was fortuitous for Purdue because they got a guy of your talent to play for them, and Gene Katie and company. But how that journey came, growing up in Fort Wayne, going to Chestnut Hill, and then coming back to West Lafayette. Revisit that story a little bit.
Okay, well, I graduated from high school in 1998.
Yeah.
And so we won a state championship in Schenectady, New York in 1998. Schenectady is a real small town, but it was put on the map by a gentleman by the name of Pat Riley. So Pat Riley and I are from the same city, same hometown, and a state championship hadn't been won until we won it since Pat Riley. So it was a long time coming. And that state championship is what put our city back on the map. And from there, opportunities presented itself, one of those being an opportunity to continue to play collegiately at Boston College. So I went to Boston College for a year, and things didn't work out there. My father's job was transferred from New York. He was working for GE at the time, and was transferred to Fort Wayne.
Right. That's
so, unbeknownst to me, my father had reached out to the basketball office at Purdue before I even made the trip out to Indiana, because I originally had, after I left Boston College, I signed up to take college classes summer classes at Purdue. So I was there taking summer classes and had no idea that my father had a kind of private meeting with Coach Frank Kendricks, rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Coach Kendricks, because to be honest, if it wasn't for I would have never had the opportunity to even be introduced to Coach Katie and to eventually walk on the basketball team. So, I was taking classes at Purdue in the summertime, while also became very close friends with Yukari Figs. And upon meeting Yukari Figs, we used to go to the gym a lot. So she used to bring me into Mackey. I used to rebound for her, and one of the only people to this day that used to beat me in horse. But
but he was a great player.
Right, exactly. So but in any case, she used to take me to the co-rec and stuff, and we used to run the courts there. And everybody would say, "Oh, why don't you try out for the team?" And it had never crossed my mind, because once I left Boston College, I was just going to study at Purdue, get my degree, and that be it. But I was playing in the co-rec, and word travels fast, because some of the guys that were on the team were also playing in the co-rec. So I went into a meeting with Coach Kendricks, and from then he introduced me to Coach Katie and Coach Lehman, who was the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, Greg Lehman.
And so I was allowed to eventually work out with the team, and I walked on, and the rest was history after that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Purdue has had that tradition of guys, and obviously you were a scholarship level player at Boston College, but having the opportunity, the guy named Jim Rowinski walked on, won the Big Ten MVP. Willie Deane, first team All Big Ten at Purdue. There's a tradition of some guys like that have made the most of their chances. I got to think those guys at the co-rec, when they watched you in about 30 seconds, they said, "This guy can fly," and you could. That is interesting. Yukari Figs, of course, that was the 1999
Yes.
NCAA championship team, and Yukari was as good a point guard as Purdue's, as the Big Ten's ever had in women's basketball. Correct. But terrific talent. All right, you came back, and you and I had. It was funny because I'm sitting next to you, and I looked to my left, and I go, that looks like Willie Deane. And I knew, and Elliot Bloom had reached out and said, hey, you know, you're going to be in, and then my God, it was. So you had a chance to be in Mackey Arena in November. You watched the women play, I think you said, and of course the men. What was it like for you to be back in the building? And I don't know how often you've been back since you left, because you've been overseas for so long. But talk about that.
Correct. Well, I take my family back every year. You know, they had a chance to see Edie the previous year, and then,
you did. Okay, good. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
good
so they took pictures with him. They couldn't believe he was so tall.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
But I also had a chance to see Edie again this past summer at the Las Vegas Summer League. So I had a chance to go down and introduce myself, because I'm much older than they are. So it was nice. It was nice to actually get to meet him and see him be successful at the next level, especially when so many people were questioning whether he would be able to make the transition from college to a professional. But I never doubted it, because I saw, even though he didn't shoot threes and stuff, he had a very soft touch, nice form, and you could see that by his free throws, and very nice touch around the basket, very very unselfish. So I knew he'd be successful in the NBA as well.
All right, as a Purdue basketball alum, the moment that Purdue beat Tennessee and was heading to the Final Four, what were your thoughts? Because it was a collective Purdue basketball family moment, certainly. But what did you take? Just last year's amazing run, Zach Edey, obviously a big part of that. But what was that moment like for you?
Well, I was so happy for them. You know, it brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
I was so happy for Coach Painter. You know, he works very hard. And not only that, you know, Coach Katie was able to be there. So, you know, he was able to live that moment. And, you know, because Coach Katie and Coach Painter definitely have a special relationship. And it was just nice for you know, because the mentor to finally be on that stage and see one of his products make it to the Final Four as a Purdue fan. So it was nice in more ways than one. You know, I was happy for the team, happy for Coach Painter, and then I was also happy for Coach Katie to be able to see that as well.
All right, you had the chance to, you watched Braden Smith play, and he is terrific. And
before you start, I'd like to say congratulations to Braden Smith on his milestone that he reached with the points, assists, and rebounds. That's a tremendous accomplishment, and looking for great things from him.
Yeah, amazing. It's Magic Johnson level good. I mean, he's, in terms of the Big Ten, he is just he has been unbelievable. He was great again last night. But you watch a team, and you've watched a lot of basketball internationally, and watch teams mold. This year's team doesn't have number 15 in the middle and Zach Edey. They don't have Lance Jones either. And you were a more skilled offensive guy than Lance Jones was. But Lance Jones, your ability both to speed dribble and handle the ball at the full court. He's trying to get Jakari Harris and CJ Cox, a guy kind of in your neighborhood now. CJ's really been a nice surprise. But talk about what you see with this team and what you like from the guard play, because it's pretty good. Fletcher Lawyer's not too bad either.
Yes, well, any team that's going to lose what they've lost with Edey is going to feel it. But the team has been doing a tremendous job of making it a collective effort and, balancing the scoring and guys stepping up when it's needed. So, I'm still looking for big things from Purdue. And the good thing about it is that, there's no one guy that they come in there and can say that they need to stop this guy and we'll win. Because it's real collective effort. Braden Smith is the head of that snake. Yeah. But we have a bunch of guys that are working together to accomplish one goal. So
Yeah, no doubt. And again, the coaching staff,
Right.
not only Matt Painter, but Brandon Brantley on down the line. That you guys, I don't know how
Sure.
much chance you had to mingle with those guys, but you would like them all. They're
Yes.
just a really
Yep.
good organization, to say the least. All right, you get to sport that Purdue garb in Albany. And now you go to the Final Four, and you got a Zach Edey. People know who you are more. I mean, they know who you are anyway. But I mean, in terms of wearing that Purdue stuff, what's that like being in former Big East country, I suppose? But it's got to be a little bit of pride to be able to wear that Purdue stuff.
Well, it's definitely some pride because with them making to the Final Four last year, it kind of put Purdue on the map in the East Coast, because they played against UConn, so a lot of people from the East Coast were tuning in to before I went to Purdue, we didn't see much Purdue on TV. It was always the Northeast team. Syracuse was the primary team that was televised in this area. St. John's and teams like in the Northeast. So it was great that Purdue was able to make it to the Final Four and even the championship to put Purdue on the map, not only in the Midwest, but throughout the whole United States, really.
Yeah, no question. All right, your amazing journey, and then we're going to get into what you're doing now, which is really important stuff. But I have to I put the graphic up here. You won 3 Bulgarian championships, a Bulgarian Cup. You played 15 years overseas.
Yes.
It's probably not easy to put that all in a capsule. But talk about that experience and how that maybe changed you. I mean, you were always very intellectually capable and a smart guy, but that had that opportunity to do something that was really unique and a life changer for just about anybody to have that experience in those different countries and situations.
So if I would have been told as a child that I would have traveled to countries like Russia and Turkey and Greece and Italy and Spain, I wouldn't have even believed it. But to have the opportunity through the sport, the game of basketball, to go and not only travel the world, but live in countries like Russia and Italy and Spain and in Bulgaria, and to also not only just live in those countries, but to learn the cultures and also get some accomplishments like in championships in Europe. It is definitely something that I never would have fathomed in my biggest dreams.
Does it make you hopeful? I mean, here we are in a world that's got challenges everywhere we turn. Not only in the United States we do, and we're polarized more than we need to be, but also, we got to get along with everybody. I mean, from the Russians to the Bulgarians to the French to the Italians. What does it make you hopeful that we can do that? And this is an overly philosophical question, I understand, but in terms of just meeting people and being around all these people, you're not dealing. You may have had to deal with governments a little bit, certainly in your basketball work, but talk about that and just what can make you optimistic as we move forward as a people well into the 21st century.
Well, just the cultural experience, and then what basketball does is that it bridges the gap between cultures. I was able to go over and live in a country and form relationships with people that we didn't even speak the same language, but we built a brotherhood through the sport of basketball, and the friendships and bonds that I was able to make, and I still have to this day. So, just traveling throughout the cultural experience that I was able to gain, the cultural capital that I was able to gain traveling throughout Europe, and then the friendships and the bonds that I was able to make while over there are everlasting. I have friends that I still talk to this day that live in Russia and also in Ukraine, and it's just unfortunate, what those countries are going through at the moment. But I build bonds over there and friendships that I'll have for the rest of my life.
Did you have a favorite place of those? If you were going to go back and live, would you pick? Would you pick any one of those four places that was extra special for you in terms of experience?
Well, Russia probably had the largest impact on my life because
Yeah.
when I went to Russia, that was my third year overseas, and I was living in a country of approximately 40,000, and I was one of two people of color in the whole city.
Yeah, I was going to
So,
say.
that was really a culture shock, a language shock, but it ultimately ended up being a place that I hold dear to my heart because I spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
and I was even able to speak the language. So that's one of the languages that I do speak is Russian because I spent 4 years in Russia and then 2 in Ukraine, and in the cities that I was living in Ukraine, they also spoke Russian. So so that
How,
city probably that country had the largest impact on my life.
Boy, and learning Russian, that language is, I've heard it, especially they always say you want to learn languages when you're 5 years old. When you're an
Right.
adult, that
Yes.
makes it extra tough. And not to cast aspersions about the political world, but
Right.
how the Ukraine-Russian conflict is difficult, and there's many
It is.
different
Yeah.
factors to it.
Yeah.
What is there hope there in your view? And you talk to people that are living a very difficult situation. How do you
Right.
not necessarily how you view that, but what makes you hopeful that somehow we can get to a resolution of this conflict down the road without really messing up the entire world, which it could do if things don't go right.
Well, just not to get too political, but I just keep both of the countries in my prayers as many people are doing, and just hopefully that they're able to come to a resolution sooner than later because many lives have been lost and many people have been affected. I have family members on both sides that I'm very close with, and who are affected by the current situation. And I just wish and pray for the best for both countries.
All right. Well, tell us now, because you're sitting in looks like a library. You've been reading
Correct.
this morning, but so you're doing as they say God's work from doing this. But talk about that and what is keeping you busy. And also, I had a chance to see some of your family too. To share with this
Yes.
that
So,
impact on you as well.
correct. So my wife and I have been married for 16 years. My oldest daughter, Suhan, is 14. I have a younger daughter named Celine, who is 9, and then my son Jihan is 3. So, but aside from that, by profession, I'm an electrician. So I do contracting work and electrical work. I stayed around the game of basketball. Right now, I'm mentoring 25 plus young girls. Most of them do not have a father in their life, so I'm mentoring 25 plus girls under my nonprofit, Life Enrichment Inc. And through the sport of basketball is just the hook to teach them about science and math and English. So it's primarily an academic program, but we teach them science through the sport of basketball, and that's how we get them to. We use the basketball as the hook to pull them in, and then teach them what they really need to know to be successful in life.
And we'll put links to and Life Enrichment Inc. Have a website, I assume, and we can ways to
Yes.
contact you from this. Tell us a
So
little bit about that.
right now, we have the Instagram. The website is under construction, but
Okay.
I can be reached on my cell phone any time in regards to it. 518-417-0169. Life Enrichment Inc. on Instagram, and life is actually an acronym. So there's a period after each letter of life, and loyalty, integrity, faith, and education. that's what life stands for. So the Instagram is L.I.F.E. enrichment.
All right, we'll make sure we have links to that as well. And
Right.
it is important. What got you? I mean, again, you've had, too much is given, much is expected. I suppose you
Correct.
probably have used that mantra. I'm guessing just because, not that things were easy for you, because they weren't easy for you as a basketball player, Purdue. You had to find your way, and you went from being being a walk-on to being a Big Ten all Big Ten level player. But talk about that, and just what makes you tick from that standpoint, and why that need to give back is critical to you and your family.
Right. So one of the reasons why I give back is that I never had somebody who was successful come back and help us become successful. A lot of the people that are from Schenectady and in my area, Albany, who are successful, they move on and they never look back. So, I felt that it was important, and in order for me to change that narrative, I came back and tried to, help people become or even surpass some of the things that I've accomplished, and so I come back to help and share my experiences and help fast track kids progress and in hopes of them surpassing things that I was able to achieve. But
Good for you. Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of people don't know what I went through in my journey. Going from Boston College and then walking on at Purdue. One of the things, like, a lot of people are surprised to hear about is the year that I led the Big Ten in scoring. I was paying for school out of my own pocket.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So a lot of people don't really know how tough that was. That year at Purdue. They see, oh, Willie led the Big Ten in scoring, but they didn't know that I was, paying out of pocket, and had my mom had a co-sign for a loan and all of these things. So, but
and I was going to say, you now in today's world, and I'm not making light of today's world, NIL. You'd have been in good, very different situation. And how do you view that? I mean, in terms of that, I mean, it's great opportunities for athletes at this level. I mean, without question, it's an athlete's world, and maybe going to balance back in some fashion. But talk about that, just the fact that it is an opportunity. It's not only an opportunity like you did to make the most out of your opportunity from a college education standpoint, but the opportunity to not only have some funds while you play is a give you a great jump start.
Well, it's well deserved. It should have been that way for some time now.
Yeah.
Because a lot the NCAA as well as the universities, they make a nice sum off the jersey sales, and so it's great that student athletes are able to have an opportunity to change their lives earlier than later, because everybody can't make it professionally, but the opportunity to get an NIL in college is going to help people change their lives without having to play professionally. So.
Yeah. Willie had a chance to play in the NCAA tournament, played with guys like Chris Booker.
Correct. Yes.
Melvin Buckley still had that great game against LSU.
Yes.
Brandon McKnight, one of the best people. I mean, really a great guy. I don't know how. Do you have a chance to stay in contact with some of those guys?
I stay in touch with all three of those guys. Chris Booker and Brandon McKnight probably more so than Melvin Buckley, but we're all very good friends. Brandon and I always get our kids together every year, a couple times, and then also Chris Booker and I always.
Where's Chris these days?
So Chris is in Texas, yes, and then
back in Texas.
Brandon is in right there on the border of Indiana and Michigan, so he's right there. So.
Yeah, we talked to Brandon time too. Class, positive person, great individual, and you guys were fast. That's all I remember. Man, Brandon McKnight was fast. You were fast. It was a good, very, very good backcourt in the later years of Coach Gene Katie's time. Willie, we're going to do this again because I want us to work. Now that we've reconnected, we'll stay connected because I really enjoyed this opportunity. We'll make sure too that we get the links so that you can not only support what Willie's doing but learn more about it. There's a lot there. There's a lot to the Willie Deane story and what he's done, and not only in basketball but in life. So thanks so much, Willie. We appreciate it. Appreciate your time today. I want to thank our guests, Tom Dienhart, staffer at GoldandBlack.com, talking Purdue football, and of course Bruce Weber and Willie Deane. Really good show today. We appreciate all that they brought to the table. I want to thank our sponsor, the Union Club Hotel and the 11 Bistro Boiler Up Bar. Great place to spend a cool, cold winter evening. If you want to have a great dinner, cocktail, great place, the 11 Bistro Boiler Up Bar. Good place to do that. I want to thank also all of the the Union Club Hotel, Vicki Wicks especially. She's been terrific for us as a sponsor. We'll be back next week with Saturday Simulcast, talking some level of transfer portal, maybe Brian Newbert's story from the road as he'll be on the West Coast as Purdue will be taking on Washington and Oregon next week. So stay tuned next week for Saturday Simulcast, and thank you all for watching and listening.